I refused to risk my job by turning up to work late, so I ditched my girlfriend at a restaurant, and now she blames me for being fired. I, 27 meters, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, Cindy, 26 feet, since university. Last September, Cindy's company went under. She took this hard because she loved her workplace, her colleagues, and her boss. Unfortunately, they just weren't making enough money, so the plug was pulled. When Cindy came home and delivered the news to me, I asked if she wanted me to introduce her to my boss. Since we have the same major, we work in the same field, and my company is almost always hiring. Cindy said yes, so I texted my boss on the spot. After submitting her CV to him and going through a short interview process, she was hired on a 3-month probationary basis. I was really excited to be working with Cindy. We could save money on gas by carpooling, spend more time together, and have lunch together too. Unfortunately, things did not pan out. To be frank, Cindy was a horrible employee. She showed up to the office 15 to 20 minutes late virtually every day. I had to give up carpooling with her because I have a morning meeting and need to get to work 15 minutes early. Cindy's favorite activity at work was opening a blank Google Doc and looking at her phone under her desk. The 1-hour lunch break often stretched to an hour and a half for Cindy, and she accomplished almost nothing during her time there. This continued for 3 months. Last Monday was a rare occasion when Cindy was actually ready on time to go to work together. Perhaps this was due to my gentle urging for her to get her act together, or perhaps it was because her probationary period was ending soon, but we were able to carpool. We went out to lunch together, and Cindy ate way too slowly. I kept checking the time and encouraging her to hurry up, but right when we had to leave to get back on time, Cindy decided she wanted another refill of her soda. I told her time was up, but she was adamant that she absolutely needed another refill. To make matters worse, the restaurant was crowded, and we couldn't flag down a server. I put cash for the meal and a tip on the table and told Cindy that I was leaving, with or without her. Cindy played chicken with me, thinking that if she refused to move, I'd have no choice but to wait. But I walked to my car and drove back. Cindy showed up 20 minutes later, visibly flustered. The restaurant was a 10-minute walk away, so I'm pretty sure she did end up getting her refill. She has been furious with me since. Last Friday, Cindy received her final judgment for her probationary period. Due to poor punctuality and a general lack of direction, my company decided to end her time at the company. Cindy blames me. She says I made her late and that I ruined everything. Last night, she asked how she was supposed to pay her portion of the rent without a job, and I responded, "Yes, that's a good question. How will you be paying?" This threw oil on the proverbial fire, and now she doesn't even want to fight about it anymore. Was I an asshole for what I did here? Relevant comments. Comment 1. This is going to sound crazy, but she may have been intentionally dense about getting back from lunch on time, knowing that Op would leave without her. He's already set the precedent that he won't be late to work for her with the morning carpools, and then using that to blame him for failing instead of herself. Given how she acted at work, she might actually be self-aware enough to realize she wasn't going to be kept on, so this could have been a plan to guilt Op into not pushing her too hard about the rent. It sounds like they live together. I know that seems a bit nuts, but I've known some really manipulative people who would do exactly that. Comment 2. Not in the wrong. Your girlfriend failed her probation all by herself through consistent unprofessional behavior. You even got her the job in the first place. One 20-minute tardiness incident didn't tank her employment, the daily 15 to 20-minute lateness, extended lunches, and phone browsing for 3 months did. She's looking for someone to blame because it's easier than taking responsibility. You leaving her at the restaurant was just the natural consequence of her poor time management. She gambled that you'd enable her behavior and lost. The fact that she's now trying to guilt you about rent is manipulative. She had 3 months to prove herself and consistently chose not to. Her employment status is 100% on her. It's time for her to learn some accountability and stop blaming others for her failures. Update. Last week, I talked about how my girlfriend, Cindy, completely blew the probationary period for the job I got her. She was chronically late, unproductive, and took 90-minute marathon lunch breaks. She claims that I sabotaged her because instead of being late when getting back to work, I left her at a restaurant when she wanted another refill of her soda. Anyway, Cindy decided that she was going to take some time off work for her mental health. Knowing that she had absolutely no savings, I asked how she was going to contribute to rent, groceries, and utilities, but Cindy said that wasn't my concern. I decided to be upfront and flat out told her not to expect me to financially support her. She responded by calling me a low provider, whatever that means. That's also not accurate because I'm more of a no provider. I'm not into arrangements where I financially support a woman for companionship. At this point, I knew our relationship was basically over, but I decided that I'd stay in the apartment we rent for the next 2 months, since we had paid our rent in full until the end of May, and then leave. But then Cindy began taking steps to actively sabotage me at work. For example, last Friday morning, when I was getting ready for work, I couldn't find my shoes. After letting me search for them for 15 minutes, Cindy finally said that she had washed them. I'm fairly sure Cindy has never washed anything other than a plate or her own laundry, but on Friday morning, she abruptly decided to wash my shoes. Right. They were soaking wet. I had to wear an old pair of Crocs, 2 sizes too small, to the office that day. On my way home, I bought new shoes and kept them in my car. Then Cindy began spamming me with texts during a meeting on Saturday, one I had told her I would be having, saying there was a guy banging on our door. She insisted I needed to come home immediately. I checked our Ring camera and saw nothing. When I texted her back saying so, she said it must have been the neighbor or something. It's worth mentioning here that I can see the neighbor's door on the camera too, and nobody was banging on it either. I got the picture of what was going on, and realizing the next escalation would be having my tires slashed or brakes cut, I decided to leave. After work that day, I went back to our apartment, gathered my belongings, and left. Cindy naturally went off the rails, but I got out safely. Now I'm staying at my buddy's house for a few days until I can find a new living situation. Thank you for all the advice you gave me. I'm sure this can act as a cautionary tale in various ways. Unfortunately, I'm kind of out of it after all this drama, so I'll leave that part up to you.